the most tremendous new musical experience you can have.
The Glimmer twins meet Brian Jones. Dylan gets a number one hit. Bill Haley and the Comets, Handel's Messiah, and more. This week in music history, April 7th to the 13th. This week, I'm back on track. This week in music history, I know what the date is. The dates are April 17th to the 7th to the 13th. I knew it. I just have to get on the right page. I'm Michael Cast, a.k.a. the Dirty Hippie.
And I am Terence Thomason, host of On the Marquee and On the Marquee Deep Dive.
And we're going to be doing something after this after recording this episode. What are we recording?
We're going to talk about Rain Man.
Rain Man. There's no rain this spring.
No, man. I think what is the third driest March in history I read yesterday?
In Prince George. Yeah. In history, yeah. What have I got? Oh, I've got a really important one on it. April 7th, 1962. I'm not sure if you wrote this.
I don't have
down.
This one. Okay.
No,
what is it?
It's incredibly important.
All right.
Keith Richards.
All right.
Mick Jagger.
Okay, I've heard of them.
Yeah. They meet for the first time Brian Jones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they meet him at the jazz club, Ealing Jazz Club. He's going by the name Elmo Lewis, and he's playing in. Guess what band he's playing in?
The Yardbirds.
No, he's playing in the same band that Charlie Watts was playing in at that time.
Oh, really?
Alexis Corner's Blues Incorporated.
Interesting.
Who, by the way, I thought Peter Green and maybe I can see his name, played with Clapton, the blues. Oh my God, I can't remember his name. It'll come to me.
What instrument?
He plays guitar, sings. Eric Clapton played with him. He's a blues man.
Paul Butterfield?
No. It'll come to me. I can see his face.
Okay.
He did an album called Chicago Line, probably one of my most favorite blues albums. Right?
Huh.
And I can't remember his name.
Okay.
So, but the guys so I thought Peter Green and this other cat was, they were the grandfathers, the godfathers of British blues, right?
Okay.
Alexis Corner, right? Guys like Jack Bruce, Ginger Baker, Charlie Watts. These guys all played in his band.
Oh.
Blues Incorporated. So yeah, they met, and the next thing you know, it's the Rolling Stones.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have
I had
that.
a lot this week.
Yeah, me too.
Just about one for every day.
Almost, I think I do. Almost.
What have you got now?
I also have on the April 7th, but 1978, Prince's debut album is released.
78?
78. For You is the title of the album.
Wow.
Which he produced, arranged, conducted, and performed. Did everything all by himself. Which I'm pretty sure he did quite...
All the instruments, too?
Yeah, all the instruments.
All the instruments, right?
It's all Prince.
It's like Remy Shand.
Yeah.
Remy Shand. If you get a chance to listen to Remy Shand, I don't know. Some people just say, oh, he was a meth head. Look, he did all this stuff by himself. I don't know. That's just hearsay. I'm not saying he is. I don't want to get sued.
Yeah, I think Prince was a sort of a child prodigy. I think his dad was he a
savant? Maybe.
Is a jazz musician? I think his dad was. Thus the name Prince. I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, April 8th, 94.
Okay.
Do you have that down?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think that's when they found Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, I do have that down. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. They found his body 3 days after.
Yeah.
He was self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did it change the course of music history? Maybe. Maybe not. Did it help shine a light in some of those dark corners of, depression and suicide. Maybe,
yeah.
I'd like to hope, I'd like to think so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably who knows, right? He's part of a movement that maybe was ending anyways.
Could be.
Like pop and everything is just around the corner, Spice Girls and all that. So maybe it was going to end anyways and that was going to take over, or maybe that happened more easily because it was sort of the end of the era.
The end of the grunge era.
Yeah, with that death.
Wasn't Neil Young, though? Neil Young was grunge before.
Yeah, Neil
grunge.
Young's is proto-grunge. Yeah,
proto-grunge. I like that.
I have another April 7th, 1985, changing tracks. Wham!
Oh!
The first Western pop group to perform in China. Yeah.
Oh. Well, then they opened the door for the Stones because the Stones played not too long after that.
I saw that on a fact. I did not write that down, but I did saw that too. Either. I was like, oh, that's related, but I didn't write that.
Nah. I'm like, nah, that's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
1970, April 9th.
All right.
You've got to have this one.
No, maybe it's something I left to you.
McCartney?
No.
Officially.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he officially quits the Beatles.
Yeah.
Because of, and this is, and I don't know, there's all that stuff about Yoko, and I don't think Yoko broke up the Beatles. I think it was just time.
Yeah. I mean, especially the amount of time that those guys spent together. And then at that point in their lives, they've been together since their teens. Now they're in their 30s. They're having lives, having families. Mm-hmm. You're not the same people anymore. Maybe you don't want to be around the same people anymore.
Well, I think you grow different, and that happens just in friendships and relationships. You grow differently, right? Mm-hmm. You grow in different directions. I think, being stuck with each other, almost stuck with each other, in that environment, that pressure certainly would cause some. It may have created some artistic friction, but I think it created more negative friction than positive, right?
Yeah.
So it would be cool to see what they came up with if they stayed together.
Yeah, there's what is it called? There's fans have made I can't remember what they call it, but they take, because I saw a fact, I think either this week or next week, that I didn't write down, but there's a week in April in 1970 where each one of the Beatles has a single that's on the Billboard charts. Mm-hmm. So there's fans who have taken those albums and be like, make it into a compilation, be like, okay, if the Beatles released one more album, this is the songs that would be on it. So that's a way you could go through their discography and just sort of...
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
We'll talk about... I got something for the Billboard charts.
All right.
Later, which totally surprised me when I read this, but that's next week.
Interesting.
Next week. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else? I've got another April 7th. I got 3 April 7th.
Wow.
The last one, 2020, John Prine dies, 73 years old. Did you know? I didn't know this until I read it. Did you know how John Prine died?
It was a heart attack, wasn't it?
He had coronavirus.
Oh, right.
I don't think he was too healthy to begin with either.
No, I mean, he had a lifestyle that was
right.
Left him susceptible.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
A guy that I haven't gone too deep into John Prine, but it's sort of his own person, I guess. Eh?
I like John Prine. Yeah. So I had an ex of mine that I would, if I started listening to John Prine, she'd like, oh, you're listening to John Prine? You're going to go get loaded, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to relapse, aren't you? You're listening to John Prine. Yeah. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll stop listening to John Prine, but I probably relapsed anyway. Oh, actually, so this is this week. It is this week, the top of the Billboard, but I've got a couple before it, or one before it.
Okay.
April 10th, 1968, Bill Kreutzmann invites Mickey Hart to join a band that was still, they have their friends are still touring.
Is it the Beach Boys?
No.
Mickey Hart.
Mickey Hart. Bill Kreutzmann and Mickey Hart. So 2 drummers in this band.
Is it the Allman Brothers?
It is the Grateful Dead.
Ah. So, that was where my first inkling was, but for some reason I ignored it.
They are, yeah. So the Friends of the Dead they had stopped for a while.
Yeah.
And Mickey Hart is still, I think he's still, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know that John
couple.
Mayer performs now with the Friends of the Dead.
Yeah. And I mean, that's cool. It's still not, I mean, without Jerry Garcia, it's really not the Grateful Dead.
No,
right?
it's more like a tribute act.
Yeah, well, with the original members, with some of the original members, yeah.
Which happens sometimes now.
Oh, and here it is. So April 11th, both in 61 and 2020. You got the 61? 1961?
No, I don't. No.
Bob Dylan, his debut.
Okay.
He opens for John Lee Hooker.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool. I did not have that.
And almost 60 years later,
Yeah.
he gets his first.
I did have this one.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay. What is it?
His first #1 on Billboard.
Yeah, and I was totally blown away when I read that.
In 2020, he finally gets a #1 song on
And
Billboard.
I'm not even familiar with that song.
Murder Most Foul? It's
No.
like an 8-minute song where he goes through like history. He talks about like JFK assassination and Dealey Plaza, and he just goes off on tangents from.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. But I did. Where was it? You know what? Okay, we had a minor interruption.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That happens.
it does. Dylan's only #1 Billboard.
Yeah.
Top 100, top 200, top 100 Billboard. I'm not
it
sure.
was
One of the
#1
Billboards,
of
doesn't
whatever
matter.
it was. Yeah.
Yeah. April. What have you got?
Next up I have April 8th, 1977. The Clash's debut album.
I saw
released.
that and I thought, nah, I'll leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an alright album. It's not my favorite of their albums. A lot of their songs are like reworked. Like, there's a song, I'm So Bored with the USA, which originally was just I'm So Bored with You. But they reworked it to be a little more punky.
To be a little more, how much time did they ever spend in the USA, the Clash?
At that point?
Yeah,
probably none. No, probably none, yeah.
But I mean, wasn't the rest of the world pretty bored with the USA at that time?
77? Probably.
77 to 87. I just finished watching, or I'm in the middle of watching a documentary about the bomb in the Cold War.
Okay.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember a lot of the stuff now because they're moving into that just before perestroika and just before the wall came down and all that stuff and the dissolution of the Soviet Union and I'm like, yeah, I remember that. I'm like, where was I when the wall came down? I'm like, I can't remember.
You can't remember?
I can't remember.
Huh.
I was watching it though. I was aware of it. I was watching
You were,
it.
what, like mid-ish, young 20s?
89, I was 25.
Late 20s?
Yeah, 25. 20. It was just before I left Toronto, I think.
Huh.
Yeah, it was an amazing sight to witness. Right?
Yeah.
But then there's been some amazing things since then as well.
Yeah.
And okay.
What else you got? You got more?
April 12th, 1954. Bill Haley and the Comets record Rock Around the Clock. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's it. I got one really random one.
Okay.
For April 13th.
I don't have any 13th.
No, 1754.
1754.
Yeah. I was like, I have to put this one in because it seemed like such a weird place until I thought about it. Handel's Messiah debuted in Dublin.
Oh, okay.
In Dublin. And then I thought, oh no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah?
Because it's a Catholic enclave, right? Isn't it?
Oh, Dublin.
Right?
Yeah.
Dublin? Is Dublin? I'm not sure. I don't want to I don't want to start the troubles.
It does seem like it does seem an odd location, but who knows? I wonder what the background is there.
Yeah, and then Phil Spector gets convicted of murder.
Oh, yeah, I saw that, and I was like, I'm not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
I got a few more.
Good, okay.
April 10th, 1985, Madonna's first tour with opening act, the Beastie Boys.
Really?
Yeah.
That might have been a good show to see. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have a friend in Kelowna that's really big on Madonna.
I wonder if it was like Hendrix opening for
the Monkees.
The Monkees type situation there, or if it was the fans were going for it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was surprised that you don't have this one. April 10th, 1962. Stuart Sutcliffe dies, age 21, of the brain aneurysm.
Yeah. An amazing artist. Have you seen his artwork?
No, I haven't.
I think, yeah. So, because they tried to make him into a bass player.
Yeah, they tried to make him the bass player.
And he really didn't want to.
No, I think it was sort of a case of they liked him, but also he had the style that they wanted in the band.
Yeah, that sort of bohemian.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a fantastic artist.
Yeah.
Right? Fantastic artist. Went to see Backbeat.
Right.
All right, in Toronto. It was the first play that your mom had seen professional theatrical production. Yeah. And it was really well done. Really well done. And it made me want to learn more about Stuart Sutcliffe. So after watching it, I was like, I got to check out who this is, because they couldn't take George Harrison with them to
he was
to Berlin
underage.
as well, because he was underage. Yeah. So I wanted to learn more, and I'm like, he was a fantastic artist. Fantastic artist.
Cool. I've got April 11th, 1970. Somebody that we've already mentioned, Peter Green, announces that he's leaving Fleetwood Mac. It's no longer Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac.
No.
Yeah. New era of Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, until I started doing a lot of digging into blues stuff, I did not know all that. I didn't know the history of Fleetwood Mac, and a lot of things like the 1978 release of Prince First, right? Mm-hmm. I think we forget that a lot because we've been exposed to the instant stardom, the instant fame stuff of YouTube and America's whatever it's called, Has Talent or whatever, or those kind of shows. We forget how many artists really had to grind and work. Yeah. Like what's the show about the Valley in California?
What is that called? In the Valley? What is it called?
Valley? I can't remember, but
something Canyon.
Yeah, Canyon.
Yeah. Anyways, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And they hung out together. These different musicians, different artists, and they really worked hard. Like, they put in their dues, and some of them made it, some of them didn't. You know. And I'm always amazed when we do the show, when I look back and I'm going, wow, I didn't know so and so was like Chevy Chase.
Right.
Did you know that he was a drummer?
No.
With Steely Dan.
Oh no.
So he was in a band called something. It was just called something really crazy. And he got kicked out of school for having a cow in his dorm, room. And it turned out that he was a drummer in a band, in a trio, and the two guys. So he left and went to, obviously, greater fame on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
And these two guys got together and formed Steely Dan a little bit later on.
Wow.
So stuff like that. That's why I like doing the show.
Yeah, that's crazy. I have just two more quick ones. April 12th for both of them, 1989. Garth Brooks' debut album was released. Yeah. He becomes big in the 90s in country. And then April 12th, 1995, related to a fact that we already mentioned, the Foo Fighters start their first tour, which is Dave Grohl's band that he started after Nirvana was no more.
He is, there's a few musicians in throughout music history, like Quincy Jones, Dave Grohl, Dave Stewart, those cats where you realize, wow, these guys are, like, not only are they talented in what they were doing when you see them, but they're producers. They're great producers. They can work with just about anybody, and they can play a lot of good music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave Grohl. Wow. What's the last one? That was it. That's it for this week in music history. I got a really good one about Jethro Tull next week.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Another Billboard.
Oh, all right.
This episode was recorded at the Arts North podcast studio in Prince George, British Columbia. Special thanks to my co-host, Terence Thomason, who is also the host of On the Marquee Deep Dive. If you like movies, man, you got to check that out. Look for some new blog posts. I chat with AI, so it'll be called Chat with Pi, P-I, the mathematical pi. Chat with Pi, and you can find that on the dirtyhippiebc.com website. I'm Michael Cast. This has been This Week in... Oh, wait, hey, P.S., man. Don't forget to check out this week's playlist. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Peace.